Well, one of the first hurdles is security. This is on top of everybody's mind today, and there are a couple aspects to security. The first one is with the growing number of things being created in the Internet of Things, devices that are generating data that people want to interrogate and understand. All that data is feeding into data centers, and people want to make sure that the transmission of that data is secure, and that once it gets into the data center, it is held in a secure place. And as part of being held in a secure place, it needs to be encrypted, and it needs to make sure it's got different access control, so the wrong people don't have access to the data they shouldn't have access to. The second area is really around the complexity, specifically with scalability and performance. So often what happens when people embark on new big data solutions, the first thing they do is try and use existing infrastructure, hardware, and solutions to address big data problems. And that often doesn't work because a lot of that hardware and those solutions are not designed to handle big data workloads and big data capabilities. So performance is really the first thing to look at. And when looking at performance, it's important to understand the specific workloads that you're going to be looking at and the solution that you're going to be implementing based on the results of those workloads. And you need to make sure you've got a system that's tuned and designed to handle that workload and the analytics that you're going to run on top of that workload. And the second area is scalability. As customers progress down the path of their big data implementations and evolutions, they eventually begin to run into some scalability problems as they try and integrate their big data solutions in with their existing infrastructure and their traditional analytics capabilities. So it's important that they have proper scaling plans in place, both from a hardware and software perspective, to make sure that the solutions, as they grow, can scale and fit into their existing environment appropriately. Well, big data is playing an increasingly important and significant role in companies today as people look to be more data-driven in their businesses. They're leveraging big data to help them understand what's going on across their business, drive operational efficiencies, et cetera. Generally speaking, lots of companies initially embrace big data by looking for those operational efficiencies. Based on the data I have, how can I drive efficiency into the way I'm running my business? But more interestingly, there's a whole new class of capabilities that are beginning to hit that are more significant from a business and from a social perspective. So there's an increasing number of capabilities that are being developed to improve people's health care and society in general. For example, in the healthcare space, remote patient monitoring and applications like the Michael J. Fox Parkinson's platform that we built are examples where doctors and researchers are using information flowing in from wearables devices on patients, and they're able to get information on those patients on a 24/7 by 365 view, and they're able to get very objective measurements so they can understand what's happening with their patients and when they might need to prescribe changes in medication, or when they may need to have the patient come in and see them and have an appointment. And then there's smart cities. With the world population projected to grow beyond 8 billion by the year 2025, cities and municipalities are looking for ways and turning to sensor technologies to be able to understand what's happening in their domains, whether it's sensing energy usage or water quality or air quality. They're using this information to be able to better manage their resources and prepare for spikes in energy consumption, or prepare for increase in air quality, and be able to mitigate some of those problems before they arise. Intel's directly working on a number of areas we talked about earlier. First, in the area of security, Intel's working on enabling security and encryption capabilities at the silicon level. And then we work closely with Cloudera, for example, to make sure that those capabilities get driven into and get leveraged by the software that Cloudera delivers. And then together, Intel and Cloudera take that solution and make sure that we work with partners like Dell to be able to deliver it to customers in a cohesive and combined package. The second is in the area of performance. With every new generation of Intel hardware, whether it be CPU, network storage solutions, or even software, we look to make sure that we're optimizing those solutions to run best against big data workloads. And then we work with our partners, again, Cloudera and Dell, to make sure that those optimized new capabilities get delivered to customers. And then there's scalability. If you look at some of the partner solutions that we've brought forward with Intel and Dell and Cloudera together, we want to make sure we're delivering solutions that'll scale. And to do that, we look to understand the workloads, the big data workloads. We look to optimize those big data workloads to run best on those platforms. And so we engineer the platforms, both the hardware and the software together, to make sure they scale for increasingly large big data workloads. Well, you know, I think in the next 5+ years, the sky's the limit as far as big data goes. And what I mean by that is I think we're just beginning to scratch the surface on the value and the opportunities that big data can deliver. And really it is, as we get over the hump and people are able to understand and demonstrate how they can actually get value out of their solution by delivering meaningful analytics solutions on top of platforms like Hadoop. I think people are going to begin to see the value, and it's just going to scale from there. So, you know, in 3 to 5 years from now, there's no question that analytics is going to be the #1 app in the data center, and it's going to be the #1 app running across massive amounts of data that we're collecting today.